Hi, I'm Noah Cooper, OSC 2025. Welcome to another episode of Tartan Ties, our alumni podcast series. Today, we are very lucky to have elite athlete and OSC Max Shervington with us in the studio. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for coming. So just some rapid fire questions to start. Were you Perth born and bred or country boy over east? What was your sort of start here?
Yeah, Perth born, Subi, and then my parents moved us up to Bindoon for 5 years. Did my primary school there, which was pretty awesome, just living out in the country. We had a small farm, little hobby farm. And then year 6, made the journey back down to Perth. Started in middle school and then was, here since then.
Did you board it all, or was it sort of your whole family moved back
Whole
here?
family moved back, so we were just day boy. Yeah.
Now, some quick ones. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee, always.
Early bird, night owl?
Kind of neither.
Yeah?
I just kind of like sleeping.
Favourite genre of music?
Let's say like there's a few. I reckon EDM gets me going. Classical kind of grounds me, and then bit of pop for a bit of fun.
Have you got a favourite running track in Perth or favourite area to run in?
Down on Cottesloe Marine Parade, probably the number one. I'm very lucky to live just off Marine Parade, so it's perfect morning run, perfect afternoon.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Yeah.
And then to finish, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, it'd have to be Italian sausage pasta that I make at home, which is pretty good.
Red sauce, cream sauce?
Red sauce, yeah.
So we'll start with your life at Scotch. So you said you started in year 6. When you moved to Scotch, as it was for me, it can be a very new environment, different environment, especially for you coming from up in the country. What was your first impression of the school and even the senior school when you moved up from middle school?
Yeah, well, I mean, my parents will tell me the first thing that I said when I got out of the car when I walked into Scotch was, wow, there's so many boys. And I went from a primary school of 100 kids from K to 7, 50 boys. Actually, probably less. It was a bit of a minority. And in my year, we had split years, 4-5, 5-6, and I reckon I had 3 other guys in my year. So to go from that to 220 boys in the cohort just for my year was pretty weird at the time, but yeah, ended up becoming mates with a lot of them, so it's pretty cool.
And what was your house when you got into senior school? And do you remember your first captain when you got into senior school?
I do actually. I reckon most year 9s when they go into senior school, they'd remember their captains pretty vividly. I remember we had Lockie. I've actually forgotten now, but we had some great leaders. The 4 guys were just super funny. They'd get up and just inspire you to kind of get around the culture of the house. So I was in Anderson, and yeah, it was a great time.
So I was a Brisbane boy myself, and if you was watching, James Spatanuda was my first captain, so you always remember that. So you got to the later years in school and you completed the IB Diploma program. So it is different to what most students will do, especially other schools that only run the ATAR. First, what drew you to the IB, and did it end up suiting the way you work or the way you think as a student?
Well, it was a teacher at the time, Mr. Scaife. I don't know if you ever remember that name. He got up and spoke, and it was quite an intense speech about how doing IB is the best challenge, and you have to be a certain type of individual, and you have to be able to strive for excellence across the board. And I just kind of, at the time, I don't think my grades were good enough to really be invited into the IB, but I just went along and heard him speak, and I was like, well, why wouldn't I take on the challenge? Why go down the path that everyone's travelled? If you want to be different, the world's a big place. You got to have a point of difference. So taking the IB was mostly a challenge, but also just kind of something to be a bit different, and why not give it a crack, take the opportunity. I'm at Scotch, so may as well give it a go.
Was there anything you really loved about the IB? Because obviously it comes with its own, I'll say, perks. You've got the extra assignments, the essays, the different style of exams. Was there anything that you really enjoyed about the IB that was, say, different to ATAR?
Yeah, I think for me, I was doing music at the time was like my favourite subject, and the examinations for music were not in person with an examiner board sitting watching you. It was you could go play at a recital or at a public event and record it, and then be able to create a portfolio of all of your music performances and then submit your favourite best work. So that kind of took the scare factor out of IB in terms of the music subject. And also I think when I was doing a bit of investigation on scaling, like it meant that I could do subjects that I wanted to do and not be penalised. So I did geography, that was one of my better subjects. And it just kind of, I don't know, it felt like it was more of a inclusive about learning rather than trying to like cheat the system and be able to find the best way to get the best mark. Because really that doesn't like matter for uni. Like no one, unless you're going into a certain degree, but even like I was doing engineering, so I needed a certain mark. It wasn't actually that hard if you put in the effort to get the mark in the IB that you needed anyway. So yeah, it just felt like a more holistic approach to learning rather than just trying to cheat the system.
And you brought up your music, so that seems like it was pretty big to you going through school. Was that something you were pushed into, or was that more, you know, a love of music kind of thing that you wanted to go with it? And, you know, what was your journey through Scotch with that music?
Yeah, well, you probably know that all year sixes, I don't know if they still do, but they had a music program, you had to choose an instrument. So I chose the trombone, and in year six, did that, loved it, but I wasn't very good at all, and I'd miss music lessons, and I wasn't probably as committed as I should be. And then year seven, mum was like, oh, it's costing a bit, do you still want to do it? I was like, yeah, I'll give it one more year. And then year 8 and year 9 came along, they're like, oh, Max, you have to make a decision, like, do you want me to keep paying for this or not? And then it was like, no, I really want to do it. And then an opportunity came up for a tuba scholarship, and that would have meant free tuition into the senior school. And I was like, you know what, I'll give that a crack. So I played Old Lang Syne for the scholarship presentation, audition, and ended up getting it. Probably the only one that went for it, to be honest, but got it, and then was doing tuba on scholarship for all of my senior school years and loved it, and then still was able to play the trombone. So I was never really pushed into it. I was more genuinely, I loved it. I think I was pushed in the early years to do it by the school, which was good for me, because then it kind of let me kind of develop a love for it rather than having a forced kind of, you must do this. So like, yeah, I generally did love it. And in year 12, I went and played with the West Australian Youth Orchestra in their kind of B team. And then when I left left school, I was in the West Australian Youth Orchestra, which was like the top end youth orchestra in WA, which then a lot of the guys that I met in that orchestra have gone on to play in the West Australian Symphony Orchestra as professional musicians. So
wow.
It was certainly, that was the avenue for me that I was going to take into my career, but took a different turn.
Do you reckon you could still play the tuba now? You know, if we had one here, do you reckon you could still play that tune from your audition?
I reckon I could give it a crack. I feel like it's muscle memory. Like you just get it back so quick. But yeah, it's not something I haven't touched a trombone or tuba since 2021. So.
And then looking back on your time at Scotch as well, is there anything that being a Scotch boy has taught you and helped you going into, you know, the world of university and music and now elite athletics that you didn't learn in a classroom?
Yeah, I reckon probably, I mean, this is sort of the whole crux of the IB, is that you're doing so much different things. You're doing the CAS project, you're doing your extended essay, theory of knowledge. Then a lot of people in the IB had leadership positions as well. You go to service, you're doing your sport, and then you've got your 6 subjects. And I think that skill of being able to just juggle lots of different things, it's not taught, but you learn it through the practice of being busy at school. And I think if I was to go back and if I was less busy at school, I may have not been equipped with the skills to be able to juggle lots of different things right now. About to go to Europe to compete professionally in athletics, and then also being able to finish my degree up this year and then also work 3 days a week at an engineering company. So, yeah.
So now, just talking a little more about your music and your athletics now, as an elite athlete with, you know, that music's background, you've got to be, said you bit with the tuba, the trombone, you've worked with orchestras. Does that play a role at all in your athletics? You know, having that music background, does that help you in any way with training or motivation or?
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to discipline. All of my music teachers, even when I went to uni and I got music lessons at uni, and that was a whole different step up from school, there was a very much expectation on self-discipline when it comes to practice. And just at uni, no one really cares anymore about you. It's on you. Like if you want to go and be this great musician, well, you're going to have to put in the hard work. And that kind of, it's very clearly reciprocated into athletics. There's no one holding your hand saying like, you know, you have to do this. It's all on you. And my coach, he doesn't watch me and make sure that I do all of the little 1%ers. That's all on me. So I suppose like, whether it's a professional musician or a professional runner, like it's the same discipline approach.
And then so we'll go post-Scotch now. Was there a big transition for you going from, say, high school into university, as like you're studying mechanical engineering now?
Yeah.
Did being from Scotch help at all, or anything you learned here help, or even a transition from university into elite athletics? Was there any part of that transition that was helped by being part of this community? Or anything you learnt maybe from being a Scotch boy?
Yeah, I suppose just going back to previous about the discipline, but also, I don't know, maybe consistency of just hard work and just effort that rewards you. So like school times, like effort would be the number one key indicator of success. You could see it across the board. The students that put in the effort got what they wanted. So it's the same sort of thing you can take into university. Like if you put in the effort, you'll do well. Same thing in sport or music or even working in an engineering company. The more effort you put in, the more you'll get out of it.
When it comes to elite athletics, we see a lot of Australians, whether it be in sports, athletics, music, they'll move, say, over east. If they're from Perth, they'll move over east for opportunities. They'll go to Europe, the US maybe for colleges.
Yeah.
What's helped you stay, or what's been your decision to stay in Perth and, you know, practice your running, do your training in Perth as opposed to moving to, say, other options long term?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely sort of a decision that I was going to have to make last year. Well, I thought it was a decision I had to make. I had a couple of offers to go to US College and do running over there. And at the same time, I had a great squad in Perth. The problem with athletics is that in Australia, it's pretty small. And if you want real competition, you really need to go to Europe or to the US. But I'm very glad that I chose not to leave, because it just turns out now that Australian athletics is having a bit of a boom. I was at the national champs. I came 10th in the fastest ever 1500 metre field on Australian soil ever. And if you add up all the times from all of the finalists, it was the fastest ever race. So I think that idea was I sort of found that it wasn't true. That there is stuff in Australia, and that's why I'm going to Europe now, so that I can get more experience there. But I think you can always take lessons out of every race scenario. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be racing every week in the US to get that experience. You can just draw upon different experiences in Australia, and I've found that to work, and yeah, staying here has been good for me.
How has that changed your view on athletics in general in Australia? As you said, we're having sort of a boom. Has that boom helped your decision, or has your decision to stay in Perth changed the way you see athletics in Australia in general?
Yeah, I mean, it is tricky in Perth because it's a long way. So during February to April, pretty much every 2 weeks, I was on a plane going over east and doing a different competition while trying to work and do uni. So that was difficult. But I think there's value in Perth. The weather's great. I wouldn't switch any other place in the world for where I'm running now in Cottesloe, and in Perth. It's just the best spot. I've got the Perth Hills. We'll go and do our training out there some weekends, and I've got enough here that can, I think, take me to where I want to go. Obviously, you will have to do Europe trips every year if you want to pursue professional athletics. But for me, I think at the moment I can do Australian summers and then European summers, and that should work.
And you spoke about you're going over to Europe. Yeah, you're on Sunday, I believe.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday, yeah. Could you talk us through what that actually entails? So why go to Europe this time of year?
Yeah.
For running.
So it's pretty much the calendar in Europe is stacked all through June and July. There's just a bunch of races. Last year I did 10 weeks in Europe. I did, that was my first time going and doing track over there. And I did maybe like 6 1500s and then 1 800. And I was just I wasn't doing a big training block as such. It was more just like race experience. And I was leading up to the World University Games. So that's what the purpose of that trip was. This year it's about getting some more fitness. So going up to altitude for 4 weeks will give me a big fitness boost. And then just testing myself over a couple of 1500s in July. I had a bit of a hamstring issue at the end of last year, so my season was a little bit delayed. Kind of took a little bit to get going early this year, but pretty much after every race I was just improving. So that's why we want to go to Europe and see how much I can get out of it this year.
Is that an opportunity that's only available over in Europe, especially with that higher altitude stuff? Or is it more go to Europe for the experience of running somewhere different and with some new exposure as well?
Yeah, you can get altitude in Australia. You can get it. I was also offered to maybe go to South Africa to do a training camp up there. They've got altitude as well. So there's lots of places you can do altitude training, but to be able to do altitude training and then quickly go and do races, that's probably what's unique about Europe. So I'll be up at a place called Font-Romeu in the Pyrenees Mountains, which is like a massive training hub for Olympic athletes, and that's where the squad I'm joining will be based. So we'll train there, and then I'll be able to fly to Finland and do 2 races up there, and then see what happens after that. Might have 1 more race.
So with that squad, have you trained with this squad much before, or is this a new squad you're joining? Or
this is a squad that they manage me, so they organise the races I'm in, and I'm just joining them to sort of tag along because there's no one else to go with. But it would be good to be a part of them. I know quite a few of the guys. They are all from Melbourne mostly. So every time I've been in Melbourne, I'll catch up with a couple of them. And last year in Europe, I saw a couple of them. So at different races and just training around. So yeah, it's a pretty small community in athletics, especially like all these guys are 1500 runners mostly. So you're pretty much racing against them at nationals. So you know who they are, they know who you are. So it's a small world.
Are there any other Scotch boys you've bumped into throughout your athletics? You know, anyone else you've run against or maybe trained with that have come from the Scotch community?
There's not really at all, apart from maybe Tony Giselli. He's still running. He runs 800s. He's probably the only name I can think of that's kind of around my age group. There was certainly no one above the ages of me. So I think, Scotch doesn't maybe convert into the after. We do very well at school athletics, but the transition into athletics after school is a very like high intensity hobby at first, and it doesn't really. A lot of people get drawn to footy to do that socially because it's not a very social sport. Unfortunately, it's quite competitive, and unless you're in a really good training group, it can be a bit isolating. So it is a tricky sport to grow socially.
Jumping back into that, did you do much? So obviously you're running now. We talked about your music in school. Did you do much athletics running in school? Any of the cross country, maybe the athletics, middle distance? Did you do much of that?
Yeah, no, it wasn't really a part of my life at all. I enjoyed running. That's probably as far as I'd go with it. I didn't love it, but I did it and did all the cross countries, did pretty average, but always put my hand up to do the different 400s or 800s at the inter-house. Never did very well, but yeah, came 10th. Oh, sorry, in year 10, I came 40th in the cross country at the inter-house, so no means special at all. And then, just year 12, I wanted to wanted to get colours, so I ended up going into the cross country team, and Doney was like, "Yeah, you're not too bad," and he just got me working, and eventually did all right at the inter-school cross country championships, and that was good. But yeah, it wasn't really a part of my, like, year 12. I did my first PSA athletics carnival. I was a reserve in year 11, and then year 12 finally got the call up in the B division against all of the really good guys at Scotch and in the rest of PSA. So, no, by no means it was something that I did very well at school.
Do you remember the Doney speech before any of your athletics comps?
Yeah, they were always, it was all about the heart, all about grit. So, yeah, he was good, and I think he was probably the first motivation I had in the sport to really dig deep. And I'd actually say that's probably one of my skills. Like, I've been able to put myself borderline into an ambulance after some races, just by how hard I can finish a race, which I think is a skill to have. Because, and I think that's all about, as Tony would say, it's the heart, it's the grit. So being able to push when your body is about to collapse, I think, is a skill. So maybe I've got that skill. Yeah.
Not a bad thing to take out of the Doney speech.
Yeah.
Now, in April 2025, you ran a personal best, 3 minutes 38.88 seconds. So that puts you in the top 7 all-time for Western Australia, and you're currently ranked 190 in the world for the 1500. After that race, and you see your time, you have a bit of time to reflect. What does that mean to you on a personal level and on a racing level? Is it different or?
I don't really worry about the rankings too much, or the all-time list, but it did mean a lot, that race, because it was in Perth, and that was my first ever national final that I got into. And there was a lot on the line for that race, because it was pretty much, it was the World University Games last year, and about 7 of us had the qualifier, which was under 3:42, and because you had hit the qualifier, that kind of made you eligible, but then it was the highest placed 2 people at nationals, or highest placed first individual of them that got picked. So it was pretty much me against this other guy, and our coaches before the race were like, "Oh, it's my boy versus your boy. Who's going to get on the team?" And ended up running a PB. We both ended up running PBs, so there was a lot on the line for that race. The winner ended up running probably 5 seconds quicker than me. But yeah, to win for that selection and then know that I was on the Australian team, first Australian team, I was like, that was so sick. And to do it at home as well, like I had family and friends down, so it was pretty cool.
So was that race run at HBF over by Bendat? Was that where they do?
Yeah, down at the stadium in Mount Claremont. Yeah. Where everyone would have done their PSA.
Do you remember much about that race? Do you remember like the last 200, 300 metres? Was the other guy close to you? Do you remember much about the race itself?
I remember it was packed. Like, I'd never seen that stadium so packed. I think there would have easily been a couple of thousand, maybe, which was pretty awesome. And I just remember that I don't really ever remember much about the races because they're all over so quickly. But I mean, 3.5 minutes is still a long time, but like you just it all becomes a blur. And you're just so focused on almost nothing. Like you are focused, but at the same time, like if you look back at it, it's like, what were you focusing on? You're not like, oh, I was worrying about where my feet were. You were subconsciously worrying about that, but it's a very weird concept of what you actually think during a race.
And like you said, you're the sole WA representative in that nationals team last year. What was that experience like in nationals? So spoken about before nationals, that race getting in. What was actually racing at nationals like? Was it very different to, say, that qualification race, or was there more on the line?
So that was nationals that I did that time at. And then,
so that was nationals.
Yeah, and then then I went to Europe after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the World University Games, which was the result of that team, that was a big experience. That was like, I didn't even make it out of the heat. I think I came 6th in the heat, and it was so tough. Like the race went out slow, and I positioned myself in like 2nd with like a lap to go, which is like perfect positioning. That means you've got 300 meters to go and you can try and move up into first, then 200 meters to go, you're at the front and you can try and get that qualification into the final. But it just so happened that I had all of these really good 800 guys just sitting on me, and I could just feel them all coming around the side of me. And I was like, ah, shit. And like, when they come around you, you only have one, like my coach calls it bullets. Like you've only got, in a 1500, 2 bullets. You got your first one, which you fire at 300, and you got your second one at like 150 to go. And once you like fire one of them, you don't get a second. So once you've done your kick with 300 to go, you've got one more. And if they're passing you when you're doing your last kick, you got no chance because you don't have another one. So that's just become about fitness, and like on the day I just wasn't fit enough to get through. So.
And that whereabouts was that national race in Europe?
That was in
the world.
That was in Germany.
That was in Germany.
So that was pretty cool experience being with a full Australian team of like 70. We all stayed in this hotel together, and there was a good amount of fun that happened, and it was everything that I thought it would be in terms of like the next thing to an Olympic kind of team, and just so much fun with all the different, like playing cards every day with everyone, and it was a perfect environment.
And then you went to Belfast as well to run the 800.
Yeah.
What was that like? So do you run much 800 metres, or are you more specialising in the 1500 area?
They're more a primer for me. Like I used to, 800s was my thing. And the thing about the 800 is you've got to be a certain type of athlete to be really good at it. But a lot of 1500 runners will use them as primers, so to get the speed kind of going.
Yeah.
So we flew into Europe, and that was the first race I had. So that kind of just got the legs ticking over. And I ran a PB there actually, which was great. So that was a lot of fun. There was absolutely bucketing down with rain that day. It was just the most wet race I've ever been a part of. But Belfast was an awesome place. Like the scenery there, like just we did runs of like 20 kilometers, and you were just in the forest, and it was just like everything you'd think out of a film of like, I don't know, Robin Hood or something like that. Like you're just running in these forests. Like it's just so scenic and really cool to go and see.
If it is like really raining and it's really wet on the track, does that change how you run or how you pace yourself at all during a race? Or is it sort of just, no matter what the conditions are, this is our plan? Pretty
much, yeah. You don't ever really think about rain. It's not so much like F1 where you got to change your shoes or anything. No, you just kind of get out there and go do it. And it's the same thing, like depending on, like your race strategy can change depending on who's in the race, what people are in the race. That's important. But a lot of the times you just get out there and run to yourself pretty much, and so there you go. You
said it a few times, it's a very tactical sport.
Yeah.
And it's a very mental sport. Has your tactical side of the game or athletics improved over the last couple of years, and how can you see it improving in the future as well? Like, does that altitude training help you tactically as well?
Tactically, it wouldn't really do much at all. That's purely like your aerobic benefit that you get. And then like some of the hardest sessions you do at altitude, that will improve your anaerobic potentially, I don't know. But tactically, it's all through race experience. So I had some races this year, and none of them really went that well. I had state champs, which I won, but that one was tactically a bit easier. It's always easy to do well when you're at a field that's not as deep, because you can just get out to the front and then just slowly increase the pace and pull away from everyone. But when you're in a field with some really good kickers, and kickers means like being able to sprint in the last couple hundred, that's where the skill is hard, because you don't know, do I go too early? Am I going too late? And that's where I had a couple of races this year which just, I didn't get it tactically right. I kind of sat back too much. I was very able to win the race, but I just kind of was, maybe there's a reluctancy to get too high up, and I hope that in the future when I'm racing I'll be a bit more eager to get higher up. And I think it's a confidence thing. Like, I'm probably not thinking that I am where I could be, And that's where I want to be able to take it this Europe trip and actually, in those races in Finland, not be near the back of the race for the duration of the race, but actually be like right up in the conversation, which is your top 4. Like if you're not in the top 4, you're not really in the conversation. And for too long, I was doing races where I'd sit in like 5th down to like 8th, and I'd try and do this really cool like home sprint kick finish. And I've got that ability, but it's unnecessary because by the time the guys at the front have started kicking and you've got your kick, you're not going to catch them. So I think it's all just down to confidence and being able to put yourself at the front. You watch the best guys in the world, they don't sit around at the back too long. Like they might go out for the first couple of hundred at the back, but they make their way up. They sit in 2nd or 3rd. That's where they wait, and then they jump at the end.
So, you're running a state race, a national Australian race, and then you get to, say, like a world race, say in Europe or something. When it comes to good kickers, good starters, is that very common when you get up to the world? Like when you get to the world ones, everyone's a really good kicker or everyone's a really good starter?
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of expectation I'll have to take for the races. I'm going to be in some much higher ranking races than what I have been in previously. These 2 races I'm in are like world bronze meets, which means there's like the diamond leagues, which is the highest tier, and then there's the gold, the silver, the bronze. And the bronze is kind of like the baseline professional level. And those races, I don't know what the field's going to look like, but I've got to take the expectation that everyone's being able to run under 340, which if you can run under 340, you're going to have a good kick. Like you're going to be decent. So really it's about get up to the fronts. There's always a pacer in these kind of races. So if there's championship races and sort of just regular competition races, and those ones will always have a pacer out the front. So that's where someone will run the first 800 of the 15. And I've done it before. I did it last year for a bronze meet, and I have to go through 800 in 153. And you get paid a little bit of money to do it as well. So there's that. But,
so you're not part of the race as the pacer.
No,
that's just sort of showing a pace to the races.
Yeah. So it helps if there is no pacer, if there isn't anyone that decides to lead it, because leading it is not a good thing, because then you take all the wind and you then allow people behind you to accelerate and you then can't catch them as quick. So they can catch you a bit off guard. So leading isn't ideal. So they put in pacers to be able to set up the race, and also because the meet organisers want a certain standard of a race. So if they just leave it up to the athletes, then who knows what could happen. And that's what happens in championships. Like you never know what's going to happen. So they put in a pacer and then they set the standard. Last year I did one, you go to 900 metres and pull off. And then that ended up setting up a race. Last year I did, the winner ran 336, I think, or 335. So hopefully this year now I can be on the other end of that and just slot in behind a pacer and then get a good time.
Can that help with exposure as well, being a pacer? Like if you go and be a pacer for a bronze meet, does that help your own personal running get you into that bronze meet as a runner instead of a pacer? Yeah,
it's definitely like a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of situation. Like that's what I'm hoping. There's a race in Belgium, the same one that I did last year that I paced for, and maybe might get an invite back to actually race. So there's definitely situations like that. And that race that I paced for last year was an unreal experience. It was my first sort of taste at like what a professional life is. Like they flew us in, they put us up in a hotel, picked us up at the airport with a big sign. Like it's pretty cool. Like you feel like you're actually living the professional sports dream. And yeah, so hopefully be able to keep doing that every year for the foreseeable future.
So now looking into the future, do you have big or small goals that you have for your running? Like, is there any personal goals you want to meet, or maybe career goals you want to meet over the next 5-10 years? Yeah,
definitely. Like the standard of athletics is increasing every year. It just gets better and better. So you got to match that. And for me, making an Australian team, a senior Australian team, so not a world unis or that, but that is the goal. And that it's by no means easy to do. There's so much talent in Australia right now, so it'll be really tough, but something that I'm not doing all of these Ks per week to sit around and not have that chance. So it's definitely the goal is to make more teams, and just the sport rewards consistency. So that's the number one rule, I think, for athletics at least, is the more time in the game and the more time injury free as well. That's the big thing. Building years upon years, like it will all come if you just trust the process.
And is that including, working towards, say, an Olympic or a Commonwealth team? Is that a goal for you as well, working towards those key mark events around the world?
Yeah, for sure. Like you just look 1 year at a time, and in next year there's world championships, and be very tough, but you got to give it a crack. The best you can do is just try and place as high as you can at nationals, and then go and compete overseas, run some good times, learn how to be a good competitive racer against really good, strong fields, and then see what happens. Like you can't look too far in the future, but at the same time, you've got to have those goals of, I want to be in the conversation or involved in those teams in the future.
And just to finish up, so once your running career unfortunately does finish up, is there something you're looking to leave behind, like coaching in the future? Is there anything you want to leave the sport of running behind with when it is all said and done? I mean, it's a long way away, but is there anything in the back of your mind that you're thinking you want to build going forward to leave behind at the end? Yeah,
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I know that I really wanted, maybe it's a similar way that I've treated music, and when I did really well at music, and there came a point in time I was like, nah, move on. So I have a feeling it could be similar to that, and they'll reach a certain point in time where I'm like, running is done. I've had that chapter, and it will be borderline closed door, and I'll still maybe enjoy running from time to time. I don't know what that will look like, and maybe I'll go intently in on my engineering and try to do really well there. So I have a feeling that's how it could go based on what's happened previously, but you never know. Like, I might want to be doing marathons until I'm older, but at the same time, maybe my body's going to be broken down by that age. So maybe I'll just be an engineer and playing golf. I don't know.
We could see you at the HBF maybe in a few years, just running that for fun.
Yeah, and not just trying to sprint my heart out like I have been. Yeah, so just I'm not really too sure what the life after running holds, but at the moment I'm really at the start of my career, so it's just about getting after it now and enjoying. I'm really fortunate to be able to go to Europe and do these competitions. Like, I think about what my life could look like if I wasn't doing running, and it would just be, all right, now you've finished your engineering degree, now go work at an engineering company. You're 23 and you got all these years of just engineering. So I'm really glad and lucky to be able to be in a position where I can go travel the world for a career, not just a gap year. And I can go to all these different races, get flown in if I'm good enough, put up in accommodation, and it rewards being good. The better you are, the more you'll see. So
better accommodation,
better races, bigger stadiums, bigger crowds. So it's very motivating to want to be good, because the life that you have is just so much fun when you're at that top level. So that's my goal, to be there. And we'll see what happens. Engineering, it's a bit of a challenge. Like, what do I do with being able to do both? Like, do I have a dual career? Do I fully go into running? I hope I can do both. Certainly something I've been able to do in the past is juggle lots of things. So, but there will come a time, like next year, I move into graduate programs, and there's a big expectation from engineering companies that you do site work. Which would mean FIFO, and I don't know how many AFL players that go do FIFO and still perform at the highest level. So that's something, a new challenge. That will be the next chapter's challenge, I think, next year when I'm faced with that decision, and I'm a little bit worried, but at the same time, just hoping that it will all work itself out, and I can continue to do engineering in Perth, and then still be able to travel overseas and do what I want to do and love. So.
Well, it's been great to hear your story, and hopefully all your races in the future go well, and Finland, and hopefully we see you in the national championships going forward. But thank you for coming on Tartan Ties today.
Cheers, thanks Noah.